Of the Rugby League World Cup final was played at Old Trafford between Australia and Samoa. The attendance was just over 67,000, so that's, I think, the highest ever attendance for a Rugby League World Cup final. The scorelines finished 30 points to 10 to Australia. There's two controversial moments in the game. The 40-20 that wasn't given, that should have been, with James Tedesco, his foot just in touch when he pushes the ball back into play when the game was still scoreless before the first Australian try, and Angus Crichton's knockout on Chanel Harris-Tavita with the elbow, should that have been a red, should he have been sent from the field permanently instead of the sin bin, and that's a 50-50 call in my opinion. And it is after the whistle's been blown as well, so there is that to consider. He was put on report. He may start the NRL season with a suspension, and that's been a debating point as well with the off and on-field instance of players in this tournament, and whether suspensions, should they carry over into league season, should league season suspensions carry over to the World Cup. We've seen it with Jared Rawira-Hargreaves as well, where he copped a suspension at the end of last season. He missed a couple of games. Junior Paolo, should he have been suspended for the final and the semi-final for that matter? So we've seen some interesting disciplinary stuff, with what's happened with Victor Radley off the field, with the alleged punch-up after the semi-final. That's now emerged. Will he face sanctioning for that? So we've seen various bits and pieces which, in rugby league terms, are a bit of a talking point. However, let's break the game down. Early on, it was an arm wrestle. And then the missed 40-20 call, I think, is actually a turning point. Not the fact they, kick the ball dead, and it's obviously a poor kick choice, and then Australia go the other end of the field through Jack White, or the fact that they have line break and James Tedesco scores his first try. That missed 40-20 call is a momentum swinger, because it was a very even contest, and that was a way for Samoa to relieve pressure upon their line. But Latrell Mitchell's first try is a defensive misread by Anthony Milford. Anthony Milford had a bad game, Samoa had a bad game. In the first match of the World Cup, Anthony Milford had a shocking game. Today it was an indifferent game, but when Anthony Milford's played well, Samoa have played well. And he's no Stephen Crichton when it comes to the intercept. A complete shocking defensive read there, and Latrell Mitchell, he's a big boy. He's going to plough over for a try there. You're not going to stop him. That was on 14 minutes. Nathan Cleary's had a less than acceptable kicking percentage in this tournament. He misses the conversion. Now Tedesco scores his first try on 18 minutes. So this is the quick fire. Australian tries. Australia have woken up. Samoa are a little bit at 6s and 7s at this point. And this is where I think the game is won and lost. Is this spell in the first half where Australia get control of the game and Samoa lose control of the game. Australia are playing more as a team unit, and Samoa are making individual defensive and attacking decisions. And therefore, the pendulum swings Australia's way. They are a well-oiled machine. And what is interesting, I'll get to this later on, is where all the point scorers, what state they all play for. So Cleary does convert that one. Liam Martin, his try on 30 minutes. The guy's a workhorse. He's an unsung hero for the Penrith Panthers. He's not the most skilled player, but he's an engine room in the forward pack. And again, defensive misreads, allowing the creative players of Australia space. And Liam Martin, he really is an engine room. Fully deserved his try. He works his socks off week in, week out. And yeah, fully deserved his try in 30 minutes. And it's 14-0 at half time. Cleary misses yet another conversion. It's 14-0 at half time. And Samoa aren't out of the game. But you can clearly tell that Samoa on paper, individually, they are brilliant. There is no doubt. Individually, they are a brilliant team on paper. But matches aren't won on paper. They're won on the field, with teamwork, and also using what's in between your ears. That grey matter, the brain. And they were making poor decisions in attack. They weren't playing as a team in attack at times. And it made it easier for Australia to defend. Now, Australia's line speed is second to none. Now, Australia weren't perfect in this game. They made some handling errors. They made some, 6 agains they were giving away. They made some poor defensive reads at times. But they took a collective responsibility as a team. If a player missed a tackle, the scramble defence is there. There's someone covering. Now, Samoa, individually can make the big hits. They made some massive tackles in this game. Individually in attack, like the creation for Brian Toto's try by Jerome Luai, which he can do week in, week out for Penrith, and he has done it in this tournament. Yeah, okay, individually you can have those moments. Stephen Crichton's reading in defence for his intercept try, absolutely. But for the whole 80 minutes, not enough teamwork by Samoa. But I think for me, a very key turning point in this match is the Angus Crichton sin bin on 46 minutes. Now, there has been a knock on there. Angus Crichton, regathers the ball. Now, Harris Tavita, Harris Tavita in his final game, for now, because he may come back and decide to resume his rugby league career at some point, but he's announced he's taking at least a minimum of a year out of the game. Obviously, you want to still shut down the play. Then, Angus Crichton looks up, raises the forearm and smashes him in the head. Now, the game has evolved and changed in regards to protecting the players. Harris Tavita is knocked cold. He's out before he hits the ground. And Harris Tavita has had a few concussions in his brief career, because he's played for a few years now for the Warriors, and he's had a few head knocks over the last couple of years. He's missed a fair bit of game time. As I've been watching the NRL religiously in the last few years, he has missed the odd game here or there with concussion. Now, it takes a while for the treatment to take place on the field, and in the end, Ashley Klein, with assistance from the video ref, has decided that it is deemable of only a sin bin only and going on report. I have seen lesser penalties given for that, just a penalty, and in years past, but as time has gone on, we're seeing more sin bins and send-offs for that type of incident. Now, it's a 50-50 whether it's a sin bin or a send-off, in my opinion. I've seen lesser incidents get worse punishments. And Junior Paulo against David Fifita in the quarter-final did a similar thing, raising the forearm into the head, throat area. And he was put on report for that, but wasn't sin-binned. And that as an act within play, so the players have been blown dead, and he plays in the semi-final. So, a similar incident, lesser punishment. Now, down to 12 men, Australia extend their lead with Cameron Murray. And that is basically a New South Wales try. Cameron Murray, much like Liam Martin, he is a workhorse for South Sydney. He's a workhorse for this Australian side. And he's also a good ball-playing forward as well. He's a more mobile version of Isaiah Yeo. And he could play hooker if dummy half should required. He's a slightly more disciplined, better version of Victor Radley. And that's no offence to Victor Radley. That's why Victor Radley ended up being selected for England rather than Australia, is because of Cameron Murray filling that same position. He's just a little bit more consistent and better disciplined. And Cameron Murray, that's a brilliant try. That's brilliant support play. It's a brilliant hole that he runs through in the creation of space. It's fantastic. And Cleary does convert that one. But that 10-minute spell where Angus Crichton is on the sidelines, I think has taken a little bit of energy out of Australia's legs. They're not blowing out the scoreline massively. And then they are looking a little bit more tired in defence. And they're making a few more defensive errors. And they're a little bit slower off that defensive line. And then they give Jerome Luai that bit of space that he needs. Now, with Chanel Harris Tavita off, Milford has to go into dummy half. So they lose even more structure in their game. And so the more emphasis is on Luai to create. But they give him space. And with that space, he creates. And Brian Toto, that's a brilliant pass to Brian Toto. I don't know what Latrell Mitchell's trying to do in defence there, because they've numbered up. And at this point, they're 20-0 up. He doesn't need to go for the intercept because they're winning the game. The game is under control. And he makes a poor defensive read, in my opinion. In attack, at left centre, Latrell Mitchell is a brilliant player. I think it's his best position. He can play on the wing, he can play left centre, he can play fullback, he's played in the halves. For me, I think his best position is left centre. For South Sydney, they've decided fullback is now his role. But when he was at the Roosters, left centre was his predominant role. But that is a poor defensive read. As an unnecessary attempt at an intercept that doesn't need to be made, it creates a hole. Brian Toto, he's again a workhorse on the wing. He has a good try-scoring record, but in the last season and a bit, his try-scoring has slowed down a little bit because of all the other work he does in defence and in attack. He truck the ball up and he will act like an extra forward at times through the middle. So he puts a lot of energy in 80 minutes onto the field. He makes a lot of runs, a lot of tackles. Brian Toto, the celebration of that try just, emphasises how important that moment is, and Crichton does convert. And then Tedesco's second try, which I think is the best try of the match, in my opinion, even though there's some brilliant passes for Brian Toto's try and Latrell Mitchell's second try. James Tedesco, All the spine players are involved. 2 for Queensland, 2 for New South Wales. Tedesco goes through that whole. That is great vision from Munster and Cleary, who are rivals at state level, rivals at club level. But for Australia, that is a good little combination. And Tedesco through the middle, Ben Hunt involved, and he hits that line. Tedesco will do that for New South Wales and the Sydney Roosters week in, week out, straight through the hole. And that's a brilliant try. You're not stopping James Tedesco from there with that angled run. But that is a combined New South Wales Queensland try, because you've seen it with Queensland, you've seen it with New South Wales. That is pretty much a state of origin try. Either state could have scored that, but Tedesco, captain's performance, man of the match performance, player of the tournament performance, straight through the hole. That's on 68 minutes. But then Stephen Crichton's very good at this. Another intercept try. And again, it's another pass that doesn't need to be made when you've got a player like Stephen Crichton who's always quick off the defensive line. Once that play, the ball's been made, he's up. He did it against England. He's done it again against Australia. I think he's done it in 2 back-to-back grand finals for Penrith as well. The intercept try. He is exceptionally good at this. He did it against South Sydney last year. He did it against Parramatta this year, I believe. He's good at the intercept try. He gets up. He's up there quick. I think he also did it in the losing grand final against Melbourne, if I'm not mistaken. He's very, very good at reading this play from the centre's position. He can play fullback, he can play on the wing as well. But Stephen Crichton, that is his pet play. This is what Latrell Mitchell was trying to do for the Brian Toto try. Difference being, Latrell Mitchell is doing that from almost like a less mobile base, whereas Crichton is always on the move and he's lined that up. He's seen that from the play of the ball. He knows that they're going to go to his side, and instead of being a harbour bridge pass, which is what creates Brian Toto's try, it's a flat bullet pass, which he juggles this time, whereas against England he didn't have to, and he's gone. And you're not stopping him. It's a pity he couldn't get the conversion, but that gave a little bit of hope at the time for Samoa in 71 minutes. And then Latrell Mitchell's try, they're trying to give it to Adokar to break the try scoring record for a World Cup, but Latrell Mitchell's try is the pass. It's the pass that makes it. It is a fantastic pass, which is similar to what Ben Hunt was trying to do when Stephen Crichton intercepts. But that pass is brilliant. That pass takes out defenders, creates a gap, and Latrell Mitchell, you're not going to stop him. You're not. And Samoa have overread that, because Brian Toto was stuck in between Latrell Mitchell and Adokar. And the gaps there, Crichton and Milford. Again, a defensive misreading. Yeah. Crichton's trying to go for another intercept, and Latrell Mitchell's gone, no, I'm having that. And imagine if Crichton had got that intercept, how mad the crowd would have gone. And Latrell Mitchell is gone straight over. And there's your difference, is teamwork by Australia, individual moments by Samoa. However, the Samoans didn't give up. It was a pretty even second half, if we're being brutally honest. If we're looking at it, yes, Australia just edged the second half, but it's that first half, and it's the first 2 tries that the game is truly won, in my opinion. Is, yes, they get away with not conceding that 40-20, which is crucial. And a few misjudged kicks by Anthony Milford, again, have proved crucial, but it's the way that they turn that defence into attack straight away, with Jack Whiten, who had an outstanding game. I mean, he's played in the wrong centre position, because generally, if he's playing for his state, he plays at left centre if he has to. If Latrell Mitchell's not available or whatever, he will play at left centre. He can also play fullback and in the halves. He's played at right centre in this tournament, and he's been very, very effective from right centre. Jack Whiten creates one of those tries. Tedesco's running from the back. Fantastic. Suaalii can learn a lot, because Suaalii at club level is playing on the wing or in the centres, whereas Tedesco is that number 1 fullback at the Roosters. And Suaalii hasn't quite got that fullback role right, where Tedesco's had a decade of experience there, and you have to learn the fullback role. It's not something you can just do. Tedesco's brilliant at it. Tedesco started out as a winger, so there you go. But from the deep, leading by example, little things, little moments, and yes, you could argue, a poor, controversial missed decision and we can discuss the video ref and the assistant referees and the bunker and things like that. And there's been some criticism of the video ref bunker system in the NRL and the Super League and the World Cup. We can discuss the Angus Crichton sin bin, should it have been a send-off. But then going by what's happened to Junior Paulo in the quarter-final, he only got put on report and wasn't even sin binned for a similar incident, even though it was in play. That's after the whistle. Losing Chanel Harris to be their third choice hooker, how's that impacted Samoa, even though both their tries come after he's off the field? All these moments. But Australia, hey, look, they looked clunky throughout the tournament, and then they woke up against New Zealand. They had to play against New Zealand. They've had to play against Samoa, and they deservedly won on the day. But there we go. Thank you very much for watching. Please place your thoughts in the comments section below, and I'll have some more content for you very, very soon.